everyone. Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Hey there, Rush Nation. Good to have you back here for week 3. I would normally say good morning. It's thrown me, but I'm a little late today, very late, in fact. So I do apologize. I woke up, didn't feel particularly great, took the extra sleep, and then really busy work day. So recording this at the end of my work day and getting this straight out to you because it's an important one. Waiver wire week 3, significantly more injuries happened yesterday. Cooper Kupp, Isaiah Pacheco. We already lost Tua for this week. So number of injuries have occurred this week, and that's just making it really, really difficult for fantasy managers out there. We've already lost Christian McCaffrey. It looks like we're going to lose Hollywood Brown for the rest of the season. So there's lots more of these potential discussions. Jordan Love. I mean, I could keep going, but I'm not going to keep going. That was the last one. So look, I'm going to just quickly go through the waiver wire and try and go as deep and as shallow as kind of need to go when it comes to fantasy ads. Spend most of the time in the running back, wide receiver situations, but we'll cover all the positions here. So top waiver wire for me, you're going to see most places is Derek Carr. Derek Carr's 12% owned. I'm just not sure that this sustainability this is a sustainable offense. They've scored on every possession, 15 out of 15. That's absolutely incredible. This is the best that we're going to see out of the Saints. This doesn't get any better than this. He's still not chucking it for 300 yards. He's still not racking up tons and tons of fantasy points. So if this is the best it's going to be, it's going to come down. He's not my pick of the week on the waiver wire. In fact, I have him 3rd on my list. Geno Smith is the man I would own. I think with Kenneth Walker potentially missing time, they're going to get more vertical. You've got great weapons there and Lockett. DK Metcalf scored a great touchdown yesterday. You got JSN still ready to get going. He, for me, is the best ad. And he's about 24% owned. I'm not spending big fab money on my quarterbacks. I'm spending only $1 or $2. You don't need to do that. So let most people go for Derek Carr and get blinded by that. Pivot your way and go to Geno Smith. That would be a better play for me. And then the other one I would add, if you're not going to pick up, if you're going to go in different directions, Justin Fields. Justin Fields is 12% owned. Looks like he could hold on to this job. I'm not spending big money on him. I'm not spending more than $1 on him, if I'm being honest. Excuse me. But he is obviously looking like he's probably going to hold that job for a while. And he's going to have this situation where we might see more designed runs. It's been pretty appalling so far. There is something to come from him, but I think it only goes up from there. I'd rather have him over, say, the likes of Sam Darnold, where we know what we've got. So if I'm looking at the quarterbacks, the order I would have is Geno Smith, Justin Fields, and Derek Carr. That's the order I have. Wouldn't spend too much money on them. In Fields' case, I probably wouldn't spend anything at all. But that's just where I am with the quarterbacks this week, and that's where I'd likely invest. So we're getting into the territory now of running backs, and my number one ad this week is actually going to be Rico Dowdle. I think Rico Dowdle is in line for a bigger role. I think we're going to see it more and more. And yet here he is, still on the waiver wire in a vast majority of leagues. I've got him in so many places. But I think we're looking at what he can do. 11 touches already, which is impressive. And that role looks like that's just going to grow. Plus the fact that he saw like the first initial carries in this game. So it's telling me that the trend is going towards Rico Dowdle. So that's why he's the guy I would add. 39% owned means he's probably not available in most leagues, but he is a player that you should be trying to grab if you can. The next player I would be grabbing here is Carson Steele out of the Chiefs. and Carson Steele looks like he is going to be the guy. Isaiah Pacheco has fractured his fibula. That could be a season ender. They might go out and try and get someone. You got someone like Leonard Fournette is out there. They could probably go in that direction, and that could likely happen. But you have to just go with what's on the team now. Carson Steele had a fumble, and he still got the majority of the carries. That says to me that they have more faith in him than they do in Samaje Perine, who did get sort of more carries in the first game in week 1. So it's interesting. I can see a case where Perine usurps Steele. I can see a case where Steele usurps Perine. If I had to put a really small wager on it, and I don't really gamble, I would go with Carson. I'd go with Carson Steele right now, but I could see that blowing each way. It's going to be really difficult to try and acquire both players. If you can, then even better. The problem is that I think both of them are short-term solutions. So you're going to see people put fab bids out there, and they're going to put significant fab bids out there. I would let them. I wouldn't be willing to put more than $4 or $5 on any of these players, except Rico Dowder. I can see a role going forward on a good offense, but anybody else, I think you're kind of committing yourself to a situation where these guys can be run out of town really quickly. So if someone is putting $10, $12 fab on these players, then let them, because that's just going to eat their fab. Next one up for me is Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler's actually 41% owned, but he usurped Aaron Jones yesterday. I don't think that's always going to be a thing, but I think it's interesting that he got a lot of touches yesterday, and he looked really good too. So I think he's someone that has to be added in more leagues. Bucky Irving, he is 26% owned. There's going to be some clamor that he's going to take the role from Rachaad White. I just don't buy that. I've said it on so many podcasts already. It's going to be Rachaad White, but I think Bucky Irving's going to have a role. He is going to have fantasy relevance, a low-end flex play. So he's worth an ad, but I wouldn't go crazy into thinking that he is going to usurp Rachaad White. Both these guys, Chandler and Irving, are not full-time fantasy starters, so don't spend big fab on them. $3, $4 maybe. Antonio Gibson, exactly the same, 29% owned. He's exactly the same. He looked good on his carries against Stevenson. Stevenson looked phenomenal in week 1. Again, he's a 1B. He's going to get work. He should be more owned, but he's not going to be a perennial starter. So that's someone you need to kind of back off a little bit on. I guess I should mention, although I shouldn't, is Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen scores 2 touchdowns yesterday, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, well, that's it. Like he's arrived. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, he did get 2 touchdowns, and that's great. But Breece Hall is absolutely dominating all of that backfield at the moment. So he is nothing but a sort of low-end receiver. So if you want to pick Braylon Allen up as entry cover for Breece Hall with some flex appeal now, then that's fine. But again, don't go crazy. Don't spend big fab on him. Again, probably looking at 3% fab. That's kind of where I'm at on these sorts of guys. We look at the major ads this week. The first one for me, it's really clear, is Demarcus Robinson. He now completely usurps into a potential stratospheric, like, top tier. If Cup's out and Nakua's out, there really isn't anyone else to throw the football to. So he is 28% owned. And I should also mention Tyler Johnson, because he's probably going to be the other target in this offense as well. So both these guys are players that you can absolutely add, and you should be, I don't want to say empty the tank for, but you should be paying. I think with Robinson, 15% of fab, because I think he's going to get you. But the problem with spending that much is if you're short in that position for a few weeks, then he's worth that. If not, you have to kind of scale back. If he's just someone that's going to sit on your bench or be a flex maybe, then you need to scale back how much you spend. But as a desperation play, he's a 15% fab, and Johnson's a 10% ad based on desperation need. If you scale that back a bit and you're not quite as desperate, then a 10% fab bid for Robinson and a $6 or $7 fab bid for Johnson is a good way to go. Quentin Johnston is a guy I'm really intrigued by. 2 touchdowns. It really looks like he is back in the in the ascendancy. You need a change of coaching staff, even though he's only been in the league. This is his second year, but it seemed like the coaching staff were just out on him, and he seems to have come up and he's usurped Josh Palmer. I think you could do a like for like swap here, and I think I'd be paying the 10% of fab for Quinton Johnston, because he looks every inch like like the first round pick that we saw a year ago in terms of potential. There's still some rawness there, but he does look like he's developing strong, and he looks like he's completely usurped Josh Palmer on this depth chart, in terms of reads, in terms of relationships, in terms of how he's looked at in the team. So I think it's him and McConkey kind of lead the way. And I think, unfortunately for Josh Palmer, I think he's kind of left out in the cold here a little bit. So I'd be putting some good fab on Quinton Johnson. He's only 6% owned, so he is readily available here. A player that's been heavily forgotten about is Josh Downs. He is 16% owned. He is worth an ad at this point because you can probably get him for free. He is a player that they need. It's clearly that this offense is struggling, because what this offense is at the moment is you double Pittman and then you take away all the throws possible. They've lost the tight end, and they're really struggling to get players who can make plays in the short, the medium perimeter, and that is what Josh Downs will do. So I think they're basically just lobbing it long to Doolan and to Pierce, but they don't have anyone in that short medium range, and that's what I think they need to get to. So Josh Downs could be back next week, and that would be a really, really good a good thing for that Indianapolis Colts offense, but then also I think for Josh Downs as well for fantasy. So you probably add him for free. No one's really tagging Josh Downs, but he's a player I'd be adding in that role. And if you're looking for just a slot volume guy, Jalen Tolbert, he's 4% owned. I wouldn't spend loads on him, but he looks like he's going to get some work in this offense underneath, and will put up some pretty low end flex numbers, but they'll be there. So he's a player I would definitely add. All right, we look at the tight ends now, and it is very thin at tight end, as you would expect this season. But there are 5 guys here that you can add, and all 5 of these are completely viable. The guy I would potentially look to add off the bat is Tucker Kraft. So he clearly has usurped Luke Musgrave, and he is the tight end one. Now, what does that mean with Malik Willis throwing the football? Nothing, really. And if you need a tight end now, like you got in Juco or Ingram, and you're struggling and you're like, what do I do? Then I would probably not go with Tucker Kraft. But if I'm thinking of a stash play at tight end, then Tucker Kraft is my guy. If I'm looking for a performer right out the bat, then I would be looking at either Hunter Henry or Zach Ertz. Hunter Henry is more likely to get you a touchdown. And the way that Jacoby Brissett plays, then he's definitely more likely to be in the mix there. And that offense doesn't seem to be as bad as kind of predicted. So Hunter Henry is going to have a role. Most weeks in fantasy football, he's going to be pretty much a tight end 2 with a tight end 1 upside if he gets in the box. Zach Ertz, on the other hand, has clearly seen off Ben Sinnott, and he's looking like he is going to have a good amount of volume in that offense for the Commanders. Now, as Jaden Daniels gets more confident, it would seem that Ertz will get more and more work as they continue to throw the football more. So for me, Ertz probably sits at the top of the tree. I think because his work is sustainable, and you can see a pathway to that remaining sustainable. Whereas I think with Henry, I can see a pathway that if they go to Dre, that may not happen. So that's why I wouldn't go in that direction. And then you've got Colby Parkinson, could be the only leftover target there. So he's one that you could easily go for. And then Mike Gesicki had a big game yesterday, but don't be trapped by that. That's just one I'd be sort of ignoring. Well, not ignoring, but keeping an eye on, but other people spending a fab on. And then if we're looking at these teas this week, I'm definitely looking at the Raiders. They've got Carolina. That definitely seems to be the matchup to target every week. So you can put some fab on them. don't need to spend a lot here. Also, like the Colts' matchup this week, they're ones that I'd be picking up as well. And then Tampa Bay have Denver. So there'd be the 3 I'd be looking to pick up this week in terms of DSTs and then kickers. Probably Carlson and Myers are the 2 I would target. But that's going to do it for this week. I will catch up with you tomorrow for the flagship show. And don't forget, as always, keep rushing.